Hello Enneagram Life, it's the 5th of March 2017 and I'm going to talk today actually about an embarrassing incident yesterday where I didn't say sorry, and I should have. It was definitely appropriate to say sorry. And basically I had to go to a culture day, which is, I work in a high school in Japan, and about 5 times a year they send me to see some sort of Japanese culture. And there was a band, an local elementary school band performing at the town hall. So they wanted me to go there, and they actually wanted me to sing. I'm not a singer, but they wanted me to sing the Australian anthem. And so I was going to do the singing at, I think someone said around 2. And, but it said they wanted me there on the slip. It said they want me there at 1 on the information slip. And so I had 2 in my mind. I thought it was 2, but then it was like 12:10 and I realized, oh no, I'm supposed to be there at 1. And I was like, damn, I got to get there. And so I was rushing to get all my stuff, to find everything, to get dressed, to shave, to get out of the house. And then I didn't know how to get there, so I had to get a taxi. I didn't know where to get a taxi from. I'm looking for a taxi, but I'm rushing around to try to find a taxi. And I'm wearing good clothing for my performance, so I don't want to get too sweaty, so I can't run, but I'm trying to walk fast to find this taxi. And the whole time I know I'm going to be late. And I'm also aware that I don't want to say sorry, because I'm, going to have to say sorry because I'm going to be late, or it's going to be expected, like I'm going to be late, like I know I'm going to be late, and so I'm thinking, oh no, I don't want to say sorry. And I'm not just like engaging with that, like I don't want to say sorry, something I don't want to do, but I'm going to have to. I'm not thinking, or I'm not even thinking, will I or should I? I'm just thinking, basically I'm not going to say sorry. That's what I'm thinking. It's there in my mind, but I'm not engaging with it. I'm like, and I guess because I am flustered and that's in my mind. I guess if I was chilled and I was relaxed and I wasn't like rushing around, I could probably think about it logically, and I could probably be like, it's not a big deal. How can I say this in a way that's, isn't so, doesn't make, how can I do the right thing in a way that, what's the small steps to just do the right thing and not make it into a big deal? And I turn up and I'm late, 20 minutes late, and I see the guy, he's in the back, and I'm like, hi, and he's like, oh, hi, are you here? Oh, great. And I'm like, yeah, and he's like, oh, please sit down, and I sit down, and he's like, did you just arrive? Now that's my cue to say sorry. I should just be like, yeah, sorry, I couldn't find the place. But instead I was like, yeah, I couldn't find the place. And I didn't say it. And there's no difference between, in terms of how difficult it is. Yeah, sorry, I couldn't find a place. Yeah, I couldn't find a place. They're like almost exactly the same. They're just as easy to say. There really is no difference. But I built this one up in my head. I built saying sorry up in my head as this really painful task that I didn't want to do. And I didn't think about it or engage with it. I was just there, and I just was, I was going to be late, and I didn't want to say sorry, and I didn't do it. But like, saying sorry is a skill. And when it's appropriate to say sorry, it's a skill, and you should say it. And you're being inappropriate if you don't. And I was inappropriate, and it made me feel like, and I'm going to have to swear now because I want to express the emotions of this. I don't want to be all analytical. I think it's going to come across better if I just express the emotions. Like, I felt like a piece of shit. And I mean that because it's like, it reminds me of, there's so many of these guys that have this macho thing about, I knew this one guy in particular, and he didn't, I knew his wife, I worked with his wife, he didn't have a job, and we lived in this small community, and he often had nothing to do during the day, and the internet was terrible there, and he would always get into like ridiculous situations, like there was signs saying, don't, in English, don't drive your car on the beach, and he drove his car on the beach. This was in Japan, and his car got bogged, and his wife was embarrassed because it's a small community, and he was telling me how his wife was embarrassed and how like her boss said to him, your husband's so irresponsible. And I remember saying, and did you say sorry? And he was like, no. And he was often getting into those sort of situations. And I would often ask, did you say sorry? Like, and then what? What'd you say? And he would never say sorry, and he'd be like, because he was always doing ridiculous shit, like hitting things with his car, like really serious, ridiculous shit, very commonly. There's some guy living on an island with 2,000 people, one of the only English speakers, and he would just have no job and do ridiculous shit very often. And he wouldn't say sorry because he had that chip on your shoulder mentality where he thinks he's like a tough guy, and he wasn't a tough guy. And so many of these people are like that, and they have these social problems that mean that and these chips on the shoulder that often mean they're unemployed because of it, and they often have drinking problems because of it. And so that there's a lot of people like that, and they may be unemployed, and they're involved in very little. They don't have they're just not involved in anything positive, and drinking problems or drug related problems, and they'll be like that, and they often have these chips on their shoulder, and they think they're kind of like too tough, too manly to like say sorry. But it's one of those things where the bigger man like admits his mistakes, and I felt like one of those losers, and like it's this irony of them thinking they're tough, but really they're not tough. Like they're the types of people that get into bullying because they're pussies. I mean that in terms of pussification. They're giant pussies, and they will never like lay it on a dude in like a real fight. Not that makes you a man, or macho, but they'd be into bullying because that gives them a feeling that they're tough, that they're strong, but they're not. They're just these giant useless fucks that have these giant chips on their shoulder, and it's this really just socially retarded, fucked up behavior. And that's what I was in that moment. That was me in that moment. And I guess because I was flustered, and of course I was stressed, and those people, I guess. But yeah, I felt like one of those people. And there's people that can't work for legitimate reasons. I have nothing against any of that. But those people, when I was saying they often don't have a job for social reasons, yeah, they have all these chips on their shoulder, and it prevents them from all sorts of just regular human interaction or good human interaction, and they have few friends because of it, or their friends are like other really people with similar sort of chips on their shoulder and issues, and they often get into it with their friends because if you have all these issues, you just bump up against people like all the time, and they do, and I guess that kind of gives them more chips on their shoulder, and that is more like exposure to just mindsets. They have all these mindsets that are just wrong, and it's always that ironic thing of trying to look tough, but then being too weak to say sorry to your own wife, and thinking that you're too much of a tough guy, and then she's paying all the bills. Let me stress that was his situation. She's paying all the bills, and And yet he can't even be like, oh, I'm sorry for making you embarrassed in front of all your work colleagues. Anyway, I felt like that type of person, and yeah, so it was. I should have said sorry, basically, and this isn't a major issue. Like, I don't often have problems like this, and that's kind of why I so starkly was just felt that felt ashamed of not saying sorry, because I don't have this. It's not a regular problem, but you know, we're all put in situations that are difficult from time to time, and we're one thing, all human beings, and even though some people do this a lot, everyone's going to do it at some point in their life, and hopefully this will help me not to do it in the future, like to say sorry when it's appropriate. That's about it. Please subscribe.